Ladies and gentlemen, the next big economic crisis in America are retail store space. There are a lot of these stores shutting down, because they are not making the same amount of money they did prior to the coronavirus. There are some chains that are going to be cutting down on the amount of stores that will remain open, but everything is suffering out here, including the grocery store. There are far less people shopping in the supermarket now. They don't have any money. Look, I almost fell over when I saw there are people in this country that are not even clearing $100 a week on unemployment. What are they supposed to do? They can't pay their rent. They really can't afford that much food. This is crazy. And you got people on the left and right in Washington squabbling over passing a stimulus package that should have passed months ago. So, being that there's far less money circulating in an economy that's already going through a recession, now you're going to be looking around and it's going to be a massive number of empty store space now. So this came out in Politico, October 18th, 2020. The next economic crisis, empty retail space. Commercial real estate is in trouble, and turbulence in the $15 trillion market is threatening to bleed over into a broader financial system, just as the US struggles to emerge from a recession. The longer the pandemic paralyzes hotels, retailers, and office buildings, the more difficult it is for property owners to meet their mortgage payments, rising in the specter of widespread downgrades, defaults, and eventual foreclosures. As companies like J.C. Penney's, Neiman Marcus, and Pier 1 file for bankruptcy, retail properties are losing major tenants with no clear plan to replace them, while hotels are running below 50% occupancy. 7 months into the crisis, the industry pleas for relief to Congress and the Federal Reserve have been in vain. Yeah, because they're not moving. These folks in Washington are playing with people's lives and they think it's funny. It's ridiculous. Lawmakers are at odds over the most basic detail of an economic relief package. And you know what? America should be ashamed, ladies and gentlemen. No other country going through the pandemic has done this. They're not squabbling over how to give money to the people, how to give relief to businesses. That's only happening here. It's not happening anywhere else. And those other countries out here, they did what needed to be done. In America, they act like there's no crisis going on at the pace they're moving. It's a disgrace. Okay, so lawmakers are at odds over, basic details of an economic relief package for individuals, let alone businesses, and the Fed, leery of taking on more risk, is hoping the $1 trillion market for securities backed by commercial mortgages will heal itself. There are also the fear that directing significant relief to the industry would be seen as a handout to the president's friends, since Donald Trump made his fortune in commercial real estate. Said one lobbyist, frustrated with the lack of traction the issue is getting with policymakers. It just goes to show you, you got all the wrong people up there. That's what this is all showing you. In fact, it's showing you, you got all of the wrong people in charge. They have done horrible through this whole crisis. They're not made to lead. If they were made to lead, we would see that leadership. We haven't seen that leadership the whole time Trump's been in office. We still waiting for leadership from him. Ooh, this country ain't, my heart goes out to anybody out there that's suffering during this time while these people are squabbling over what to do. Sometimes people forget the depth and the breadth of what commercial real estate is, said Mike Flood, Senior Vice President of Commercial and Multifamily Policy at the Mortgage Banker Association. What's at risk here is both the ability for people to stay in their apartments and the ability for people to go to their jobs. So, unless there's a stimulus, there's a lot less to go back to once we get back to normal times. We're not getting back to normal times. Y'all better face the fact coronavirus is here to stay. Ain't no vaccine that's going to magically get rid of all of this. It's not going to happen. This is your normal way of life. You better start embracing it. A major problem is one knows is how long the drop in commercial real estate will last. Indefinitely. Business travel isn't expected to pick back up for at least a year. So hotels are being hammered. You ain't going to be able to business travel beyond a year. Y'all keep living in these fantasies if you want. And while office buildings have not felt the burn of the downturn, offices tend to take long leases that will change as many companies rethink the way they'll operate as work from home becomes the norm. The number of commercial loans that have been packed into securities going into special servicing, where distressed loans are transferred to new manager hired by the bondholders to negotiate a payment plan on the behalf, has steadily increased since March. Yeah, default is going to go through the roof. It has become clear that the virus will continue to cut into revenue for some time. So even those property owners who have been able to patch together payments, thanks in part of now lapse relief measures passed by Congress, may start to slip. Yeah, because you know what? It is a mess in housing. People are missing all kinds of mortgage and rent payments around this country. And if they're missing those payments, they certainly won't have the money to go into a lot of these retail stores anymore. The loss of paying tenants could touch off a wave of property write-downs and eventually foreclosures on everything from shopping centers to apartment buildings. But it's not just a pocket of wealth investors who will get hurt by the widespread write-downs. 87% of the public pension funds and 73% of private pension funds hold real estate investments. Borrowers seeking loan relief or considering refinancing are also running into trouble as the uncertainty caused by the virus has left them with no clear projection of future revenue streams for their building. Every lender is trying to help regardless of the form of finance, but sooner or later, the borrower needs customers, Flood said. Y'all ain't gonna make it. Y'all ain't gonna make it. For real. So they said hotel and retail make up 40% of the commercial mortgage-backed security market, and they are hit the hardest during this pandemic. In fact, they have not bounced back since the original lockdown back in March. These businesses have not bounced back. They're not. Mm-mm-mm. 1 out of 2 hotel rooms remain unoccupied. Urban hotels have some of the largest operating costs, are faring the worst with just 38% occupancy rates. And retail, which already struggled before COVID struck, thanks to the rise of e-commerce, has seen its decline hasten. It is not just a small strip mall either. The owner of the $1.9 billion Mall of America entered into an agreement with its special servicer in August to avoid foreclosure. Yeah, well, everybody can't do that. Apartment buildings, on the other hand, have performed well so far. Industry analysts are anxiously watching for signs for additional tenants missing rent. Now, the initial spurt of economic relief included the $2 trillion CARES Act Congress passed in March is sputtering out. Yeah, a lot of these apartment building owners, they got to pay mortgages. So it's going to be a mess if many of them have to go into foreclosure because they can't, because their tenants are not paying rent. And really, this is, like I said, this is no one's fault. This is why the government needs to step in where you're paying all your taxpayer money and help the people out. But instead of doing that, they've been wasting months fighting back and forth over the package. There shouldn't be no fighting over this package at all. It should be about getting this to the people as quickly as possible, but we see they feel there's no urgency out here at all. But that's where they are completely disconnected from the reality that the public is living. Man, politicians suck. They really do. But y'all, please tell me what you think. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace, family.